Okay, today we have three problems to resolve. The first one is the addition of 1/4 and 1/3. And to start, let's find the least common denominator. So the two denominators are 4 and 3, and since they are relatively prime, they have no common factors, and then we know the LCD, least common denominator, equals the product of these two denominators, 3 times 4, which is 12. Now, we need a 12 in each of these denominators. In order to get a 12 here, we'll multiply by 1 in the form of 3 over 3. And 3 times 4 is 12. In order to get a 12 in this denominator, we'll multiply by 1 in the form of 4 over 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. So this equals, and now we have that 12 in the denominator, and 3 times 1 is 3, and 4 times 1 is 4, and there's our plus sign. When we sum 3 and 4, we get 7, and there we have it, 7 over 12. Now, let's do question 2. And in this case, we have to solve the equation 6k squared plus 1 equals 7k. Well, the first step is get 0 on one side, everything else on the other, so we'll subtract 7k from both sides. In doing that, we're going to have 6k squared minus 7k plus 1 equals 0. Next step is to factor. So, we know we need parentheses. This thing equals 0. We know we need negative signs. Now look at, oh, by the way, all the factors of 1 are 1 and 1, so these positions are occupied. Now let's look at the factors of 6, and they are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Which of these pairs of factors adds up to 7? Well, it's 1 and 6, so we have a 6k and k. Now, let's check it out. If we multiply 6k times k, we get 6k squared. If we multiply negative 1 times negative 1, we get 1. If we multiply negative 1 times k, we get negative k, and 6k times negative 1, we get negative 6k. Summing those two, negative k plus negative 6k is negative 7k. So we've done the factoring correctly. Next, let's set each factor equal to 0 and solve. So if 6k minus 1 equals 0, then 6k adding 1 to both sides equals 1. And dividing both sides by 6, we have k equals 1 over 6. In this case, we'll add 1 to both sides, and we get k equals 1. So then our solutions for the given equation are k equals 1/6 or 1. For our third question, we have to graph f of x equals negative x squared plus 2x plus 4. So to do that, and we have to label the vertex and 2 other points. So to do that, we'll plot points. And so we have x and y, which equals f of x. And we'll evaluate for -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Now if we let f of x, or excuse me, if we let x be 0, well, replacing each x with 0 here, that will 0 out, that will 0 out, and so f of 0 equals 4. So we get a 4. Now, let's evaluate f of 1. So f of 1 equals, and 1 squared is 1, so -1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 2. Oh, excuse me. -1 plus 2. And we still have the 4, and -1 plus 2 is 1, and 1 plus 4 is 5. So f of -1 is, I beg your pardon, f of 1 is 5. Let's look at f of -1. And if we square -1, we get 1, and negative times a 1 is -1. And 2 times -1 is -2, plus 4. And we have -3 plus 4 is 1, so we'll get a 1 in this position. Well, let's try 2. So f of 2 equals, and 2 squared is 4, and we have a minus as a 1 as a coefficient on that, so that'll be -4. 2 times 2, replacing x with 2, 2 times 2 is 4, so plus 4. And we have this 4, so plus 4 again. Those two add out, and we just get 4. So there's our 4. Now notice, we have identical y values for 2 different x coordinates. So let's graph that. And when x is 0, we get 4. So 0, 4, x and y. And when x is 2, we also get 4. So at 2, here we are at 2, 4. That means also when x is 1, we get a 5. So 1, 5. And since we have 2 identical y values for different x coordinates, then we know that the vertex is halfway between, the x-coordinate of the vertex is halfway between 0 and 2, so that puts it at 1. And f of 1 is 5, so 1, 5 is the vertex. And that's what our graph looks like. We've graphed 3 points, so we're done.